this video and one more, and then we will be done with Jingle All the Way. Hi everyone, Cristin here, and we are nearing the finish line of our Jingle All the Way quilt. So we did all of our borders, or our borders, our inner borders and our outer borders. We finished them all, and that means that we are officially done with the top of our quilt. How exciting is that? I absolutely love it. It's humongous, so I can't show you it all, but I've been showing photos with it toward the end of every tutorial as we complete different parts. So it's really coming along, and I'm loving seeing everybody's progress and doing so great. So today we are going to do the backing and the binding. All right, backing and binding, and then we have one more tutorial after this one, and then we will officially be done with this huge project that we've been working on for months. So the backing and the binding. So let's talk about the backing first. So the backing is shown on page 17 of the oldest book. There's at least one revision of this Jingle book, so I don't know exactly for everybody's, but for mine it's on page 17. I have the oldest book. All right, so we need our backing fabric. Make sure you have backing fabric, and a lot of it. We need 3.5 yards of backing fabric. So our sponsor, Oh My Darlings, created a backing kit for us. So if you haven't already purchased a backing kit, you can get it from our sponsor, Oh My Darlings. They will get it shipped out to you right away. So you can see they created this one for us, and what they used is the green swirl fabric. So this will be great for our backing. All right, 3.5 yards. All right, so the most common question I get asked about adding the backing, there's a few questions that I get asked, but one of the main one is, do you add extra batting? It's totally up to you, personal preference. If you want to add another layer of batting to your backing fabric, you absolutely can do that. I don't do that. All right, I do not. I don't see a need for it. It's going to hang against a wall. Some people say that the reason that they do that is because it will lay a little bit flatter, lay a little bit nicer against the wall. So you do you, whatever works for you. I do not add extra batting. And the reason I don't is because it just adds extra bulk, and you're already working that quilt, that big quilt, through your machine, and it's hard enough, right? It's not bad, don't worry, but it's hard enough. So I don't want to complicate it even more. So I gave several tips on the inner borders. I think it was the inner borders tutorial, looking forward ahead to the backing. So again, I want to point out, move your machine to somewhere that you have a lot of rim. All right, you're going to need a lot of rim for this backing process. It doesn't take that long, but if you can move either to like a big dining room table, or pull your existing table out from the wall. If you've got it up against the wall, you want to make sure that it's out enough that your quilt can drop down behind. You just want room. And I showed in my last two videos that my machine is in a corner desk, and my room is pretty cramped, so I don't have a ton of space, but that corner desk gives me that depth that I need, and it doesn't go all the way to the wall, so I've got room that it can just kind of lay there and not be finagling too much. So that's my biggest tip, is pull your table away from the wall, move your machine to a dining room table for a day if you have that available, or if you've got a corner desk, that works really well. Something like that, just give yourself room. That's all it takes. All right, so 3.5 yards of your backing fabric. Now, a couple of tips on the backing. So we are going to stitch in the ditch, and it's not hard. I've seen a lot of people starting to get anxiety about it, and it's really not hard. Don't freak yourself out. It's not a bad process at all. So the key is to have invisible thread. All right, so if you haven't already, make sure to get yourself some. I think it's called like monofilament, something like that, but I just call it invisible thread. So I will add a link here to my Amazon storefront for the invisible thread. It makes the process so simple because you're not worrying about getting it exactly right, and you'll do fine either way. But if you have a little where it kind of wiggles through, you're not going to see it anyway because you've got invisible thread. So there's several different brands of invisible thread, and my personal favorite, I like the Gutermann. This one is the Gutermann. I like that, and I also like the sulky one. There are some, I bought one that was just like fishing wire, and I didn't like it at all. It was very frustrating, and whatever you can do to make the process easier. So for me, I find the Gutermann and the sulky brands to work really well. And the other thing, super important, is you want a stitch in the ditch foot. So you can get a regular stitch in the ditch foot. It's not too expensive. So here's what it looks like. It's a foot, but you can see that middle section here, this little like blade in the middle. It makes it so that as you're stitching, it just kind of opens up like the Red Sea, right? It's going to just open and part it up so that you can stitch right in that ditch. It helps that to have this. All right. And this is the regular one. I used this one for years. And then I started using my walking foot, which, oh boy, that is so nice because a walking foot makes it so that it just gets through lots of layers. So think about, we've got all those blocks. We have our borders. We've got all of that with the batting. We've got all of the things. It's not a super thin project. It's a pretty thick, it's a quilt, right? So you want to have something that's going to get through lots of layers easily. And like I said, I did it this way for years and it worked totally fine, no problem. But if you can get access to a walking foot, this is the Brother walking foot. It's called a Move It foot, the Brother one. I'm sure every brand has their own, but this one, it just plugs into my machine, and I'm telling you, it just kind of chugs on through. It's so easy. And for this, you can get a walking foot, a stitch in the ditch foot also, and it's so easy. Here, let me just show you. So it's basically for the Move It foot, it's a stitch in the ditch foot. You can see it's got that little blade right there down the middle, and it just is so easy. And it's funny because I ended up buying this because one of my viewers suggested it, and I had thought about it for years, but I didn't want to invest in it. I was like, oh, I think it was like, I don't know, between $30 and $60, and I was like, oh, no, I can get by, it's okay. I bought this, invested in it, and I've had it for years and I would never go back, in all honesty. So I would definitely recommend it. It's a great tool to have this little stitch in the ditch foot that goes on your Move It foot. I think that's what this is called. But walking foot, whatever walking foot that you have, it's a great investment, and it just literally makes the process so easy. So invisible thread, Move It foot, or walking foot, those are super key for doing stitch in the ditch. And pull on those big girl panties. You got this. It's not a difficult thing. It really isn't. The hardest part is finagling your fabric, but you already did that when you did your outer borders and your inner borders. Those outer borders felt a little bit more for some reason, but it's that same process. You're just kind of making room for your quilt to be able to stitch in the ditch. So when I say stitch in the ditch, there's my quilt. All that means, I'm sure you've already figured it out, and you've probably done it with me lots of times on other projects, but you're basically going around every block. So you're stitching in the ditch around every single block. All right. And I start from the center, and I'll show you also pins. So I started by pinning. So let me backtrack. So you're going to take that big 3.5 yards of fabric, and you're going to lay that down on a big dining room table or something, somewhere that you've got a lot of space, even your bed if you need to, whatever works for you, something big. And then you're going to lay, and that is going to be right side down. All right, right side down. And then you're going to lay your quilt on top of that, right side up. Okay, so you've got your backing fabric underneath it, and then you're just going to pin. So, and this is really key, I've mentioned this in all of my videos, I made the mistake of buying pretty pins. Don't do it. Let me just tell you, I had these really pretty pins that were in lots of different colors, and they even had pink ones, and I just thought, oh, these are so cool. They're so me. This is so fun. Don't do it. You need sharp, good pins. They were so hard to get through all the different layers. And I'll show you in photos, that whole process, I'll show it to you in photos. But I also make sure not to go through the applique pieces, through the chenille. I just pin around, all right? Like a couple, really one. I just do one pin per block. Every block has one pin. Even the small blocks, I do one pin, and I try not to go through the applique if I can, but whatever works for you. But one pin per block, and what that does is, for me, it tells me I have not stitched around that block. So once I start from the center and I work my way out, and then as I go around every block, I take that pin out because it's already stitched in the ditch around that block. I take that pin out, and then I'm not sitting there trying to look underneath my quilt over and over again, because that pin tells me, oh, I haven't finished that one. All right, so that's how I do it. That's my little tip on what works for me. But definitely get some good pins. You want good pins. So I will add a link to these. I believe they're already in my Amazon storefront, but if not, I will add them in. These are Dritz pins, if I recall correctly, in 2 different sizes, and they're just sharp, and they work so well. They're ugly gray, boring. They're not pretty pink pins, but they work. And this is what's cool too, is they are angled. Do you see that? So it makes it really easy to pin and unpin through all these layers. They're super sharp. This is the big one, and then I have little ones for like the inner borders. I put a few in the inner borders, and same thing, they're angled, and it makes them so easy. So invest in some pins. You'll have them forever. They work really well for this process. So then, like I said, around every single block, I stitch in the ditch using my invisible thread, and keep going all the way through. And then I also do the inner borders, the outer borders. I do the whole thing, and then when you're all done, you can see on the back, you see all of the little squares. It's basically your quilting, right? That's your kind of your quilting, adding the backing. All right, so that works really well for me. The stitch in the ditch, it's not a hard process. You can do this. I promise you can do this, and you'll be so proud of yourself when you're done. I did see in the Cristin Creates group, some people were talking about other alternatives, and somebody said, I was super busy at that point, so I didn't spend too much time reading all of the comments, but somebody said that I think they didn't even use invisible thread, but they do like a serpentine stitch or a little wavy stitch around each block. Like maybe they were too worried about not getting it right in the seam, but who is going to notice? Like seriously, somebody's going to go, oh, I see you're stitching a little bit. It wasn't right in the ditch. So not perfection. We're not going for perfection. We're completing our project. We're proud of ourselves. We've done a great job. We've gotten this far. We're going to finish this. It's going to, and you do you. If you want to do a different stitch in the center using regular thread, you absolutely can do that. This is your project. You have to do what works for you. The key is going to be to finish. All right. Do not have this be in a folder, in a bin, waiting to do someday. We are going to finish this project. All right. That's the important thing. And to have fun and to enjoy and to learn new things and all of that. You know me, I love all of that. All right. So that is the backing. We are going to stitch in the ditch. We're going to use our invisible thread and a walking foot and a stitch in the ditch foot. I'm not going to add batting, but you absolutely can if you prefer, whatever works for you. All right, that's the backing, and I'll show the whole process in photos. All right, and then next up is the binding. So the binding, same thing. It's on page 17 of the oldest book, and I have mine in a packet. The biggest, most important thing I can tell you with the binding is do not stabilize your fabric. Don't do it. So on one of my videos, I don't remember which one, maybe spring showers, but I always tell you, don't stabilize that fabric, and then I did. I said in my video, don't do it, and then I did. And oh boy, I don't think I'll ever make that mistake again. It makes it really hard to flip it, to pull that fabric over and to stitch on it when it's stabilized. So don't stabilize your fabric. All right. That's the key thing. So our fabric from our sponsor, and actually the original, this is the original as well, I believe. Looks like it. So it is this directional fabric. It is red stripes fabric. All right. So if you didn't get your binding fabric, you can get that from our sponsor, Oh My Darlings. And it is, like I said, this red stripe fabric. So we want 6 strips of binding fabric that is not stabilized. 6 strips. All right. And in the book, it says to cut them to 2 1/4 times width of fabric. And you absolutely can do that. That works absolutely fine. Personally, my personal preference is 2.5 inches. So I cut mine to 2.5 inches. Either one will work. For me, I just find it a little bit easier to pull it over. It's not quite so tight at 2.5 inches. So whatever works for you, 2 1/4 or 2.5 inches times width of fabric. All right. So big, long fabric and not stabilized. Do not stabilize. That's the big thing. All right. Looks like maybe these are folded in half. I'm like, a couple of these are short. I think I just have it folded. I hope so. Either way, I've got some more if I don't have enough. So I have this one that our sponsor sent. So 6 strips that are either 2 1/4 or 2.5 inches times width of fabric, 6 of them, and not stabilized. All right. And then binding. So a lot of people have their own technique on binding. So you do you, whatever works for you on your binding. I will share how I do it. I've done it this way all this time. My very first quilt was Hello Sunshine by Kimberbell, and I had never sewn a single thing at that point, ever, never, not even like probably a button. I don't think I ever sewed anything. And a friend of mine brought me in. I was embroidering. I was doing shirts and a lot of fun things for my grandkids at that point. And a friend of mine in San Jose, Lori Walsh, I love her. She's like the perfect friend because she not only does embroidery, but she's also a cyclist. So she's like the perfect friend for me. But anyway, she took me to my very first quilt shop. I had never gone to a quilt shop before. We walk into a quilt shop, and this was many, many years ago. We walk in, and there's a Hello Sunshine quilt hanging on the wall. I was like, there's a bicycle on a quilt. I have to learn how to do this. And literally I bought a little $100 sewing machine off of Amazon and used that until it died. I mean, I didn't know how to sew a straight line. I didn't know how to do anything. And I made that Hello Sunshine quilt. And I love my Hello Sunshine quilt. So that's my little intro to Kimberbell. Literally, a friend took me to a quilt shop and Hello Sunshine was hanging on the wall. And I'm like, oh, I have to have that. So anyway, I don't remember why I started telling you about that. But anyway, so everybody's got their own technique on how to do binding, and I have developed this technique that works for me, and I will add photos of how I do it. It's a pretty simple process. I do it all on the machine. I tried hand binding. I think there was like a Kimberbell little pillow that had us do binding not by machine, and I hated it. It's not for me. A lot of people are like, oh, it's so wonderful. You sit in front of the TV and you just do your hand binding. Great. You do that. I'm not going to do that. To each his own, right? So mine is all on the machine. It's easy. It's simple. I do my mitered corners. I'll show photos of the whole thing. So that's what I do. And I will add photos of how that whole process works so that you can do that if you choose, or whatever you currently do is fine. You're going to bind your quilt. And then after we do our backing and our binding, we have one more tutorial. We're going to do the embellishments and hopefully a label. I haven't even begun to start designing a label, and I always kind of stress over that because I really don't have digitizing skills, but I'm hoping to make you all a label for those that have supported our project and have sent in a donation. I'm hoping to do that for you on our last tutorial. I haven't started. So for now, we're going to do our backing and our binding. We're not going to stress over it. We're going to enjoy the process. We're not going to be scared. We got this. And my shirt today, I just made this one last night while I was editing a tutorial. So while my machine was running doing stitching, I was able to work on my tutorial. So stitching shirts is such an easy thing to do in the background because you get up every now and then to change a thread color. My machine's right next to my computer so I can listen if there's a problem. So I just made this one last night. It says grow through what you go through, right? I love that because everything that we go through, it's a learning experience. We learn so much and we grow so much from all of our different experiences. So I thought this was such a fun design. I'm almost certain it is from Designs by Juju. I believe it's from Designs by Juju. I will add information under this video with a direct link to where I got the design. I believe it was in a Wildflowers pack. In fact, Wildflowers 2. I remember it from Designs by Juju. The sweatshirt, I love this sweatshirt. So it is warm. I think, yeah, there's some fleece in there. It's a nice warm sweatshirt. It's from Walmart. So my sister, my adorable sister, she lives in Florida and she has like this, I don't know what you call it. It's not a YouTube channel. It's where she's like the fashionista, my sister. I'm the opposite. I'm like jeans and simple and very simple. And she's a total fashionista. So she's got this channel, but it's not YouTube. I'm not sure what you call it. But anyway, she shows lots of different clothing. And one of them was wearing this sweater. And I saw it and I'm like, that's a big empty field. You got to embroider that. So I bought it right away and I embroidered on it. It's from Walmart and I got it way later after the season. And so I think it was like $8. I bought it just recently. It just arrived within the last week or two. So I embroidered it on that one. I got another one too. I got it in pink. So I'm going to embroider on that one as well. So Walmart, like how cool is that? And it's so funny that my sister is the one that found it because she lives in Florida. I can't imagine she would need anything fleece lined, but she's just so cute. So as an embroiderer, aren't you, every time you see someone wearing something that is a big blank field, aren't you like, you got to dress that up. You got to embroider that. Is it just me? Do you do that? I totally do that. Literally. Even my friend Cristin, when she comes over for play days and she does embroidery and she's got her own shop that she sells fabric and stuff. And she'll come over with a blank sweater and I'm like, no, you got to fix that. So maybe it's just me, but a big empty embroidery field, I'm always like, no, you need more. So anyway, I will add information of where I got the sweater and the design from Designs by Juju underneath this video. And how are you doing with your goal? I love hearing about your goals. So mine has been working out. I am trying to build bone mass. I get infusions every 6 months because of this cancer pill that I'm on, and it helps my bone density. So I've been doing a lot of weight training. I do treadmill running and treadmill hiking. And when it gets nice outside, I do those things outside. But I am definitely working hard on bone density. That's a big one for me. So today, my husband and I, we went to the gym and I did an iFit workout in Argentina. That was a really good one. It was the last one in a series. And then I went and I did my weight training. Today was legs. So I did all of the leg machines, did really hard workout on that. And then got back to the treadmill and found another iFit workout. This one, oh boy. So this one was Hannah Edens, who is a phenomenal trainer. And she talked about, I'm going to try not to get emotional. She talked about her best friend died from cancer and left behind her husband and 2 little babies. and she went and she rode and ran. So rode a bicycle and ran 800 something miles in Iceland, and did it all to raise money for cancer research. And oh my gosh, I have to tell you. So I have a treadmill here at home, but I need weight training. And so that's why I go to the gym a lot. And this iFit, it was one workout, one iFit workout. And this one, don't do it at the gym. I'm on my treadmill hiking and just sobbing on this, at the gym in front of everybody. I don't cry in front of people, or I try not to. And oh, that was a hard one. That was very, very emotional. So it was a really good workout. It was actually more of just like a storyline. And so every minute I watched the timer, and every minute I upped my treadmill up to 15% grade, and parts of it I ran and parts of it I hiked. And so I did all of the leg workout. So excellent workout. Very, very thankful for the ability to do that. That was really good. And then my other goal is to make things in between doing this project to help slow me down, because I've had complaints that I'm overwhelming, like going too fast. And so I've been doing a lot of things in between, and that is good for me because I've got this pile of things that I want to work on that don't ever get done because I'm working all the time. And so I'm trying to do that in between. I've got several sweaters to embroider. I've got things to make for my grandkids. So I've been doing that in between, and I showed you my sweater that I made last night that I absolutely love. So I'm definitely working the program, and this is funny. So my husband and we went through a little rough patch, and just recently, and so we're kind of celebrating that we got through it, because it was a pretty difficult time. And so we're having this celebration tonight. And so we got this pizza from this really expensive place. It's very expensive pizza, in my opinion. We got that pizza. So very excited for that. And then we also went to the grocery store, and we got like this cherry angel food cake that looks so yummy. And we've had it before, and it's really, really good. So we're having like a little celebration tonight. We're going to watch a movie and eat our kind of bad for you foods, but excited to do that, just to celebrate. You got to enjoy your relationships and the hard things that you go through. And like, I actually, I don't know how much information I should share, but I actually prayed the other day, and I said, so God, I know that you are teaching my husband things through me, but I'm exhausted. Can we just not find another source? Because I'm broken down and tired. And it happens. And a lot of the things that we go through is for us to learn and to grow. And it's so important that we do that, because a lot of people go through stuff, but they don't learn the lesson in it. So I feel pretty strongly about that. And then there are other times that we go through stuff for someone else to learn. And to me, that's harder and it's exhausting. And so anyway, it's part of life, though. It's a part of life. And so we are going to celebrate tonight that we made it through another difficulty, and we're healthy and happy and doing well, and have the ability to build strength and go to the gym together. And I absolutely love that. I enjoy that part. So anyway, what are you doing for your goals? I want to hear how you're doing with it, what you're working on, each thing. I want to hear about it. I hear them every now and then in the Facebook group and through comments here, but I don't always remember which things everyone's working on. So make sure to remind me and tell me how you're doing with your goal. Every time you post a picture in the Facebook group of what you completed on our project, also share how you're doing with your goal.